other hazards that businesses need to be aware of when using social media as a company?
Yeah, I think as a company, you've really got to understand, the impact social media can have on your business. Both, from a privacy perspective, certainly, but I think you need to take kind of a measured approach to your use of social media as a business, and you'll be careful how you utilize the various platforms. I think, it's a different world than it was 15, 20 years ago, certainly even 5 to 10 years ago. And, you need to be careful how you react to user-generated feedback and content. And like I said, take a real measured approach. For example, if you've got negative reviews on Yelp, you want to make sure that you're able to address those in a reasonable way. Usually, what you want to avoid is kind of taking, having some kind of a backlash or response to those negative reviews on the platform itself. But I think you also want to be able to substantively address reviews that are just inaccurate or wrong. And there's certainly venues and ways to go about doing that, but it's certainly challenging in this day and age.
And are there greater concerns about the First Amendment, especially in recent months?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, what's wonderful about many social media platforms is really that anybody and everybody has a voice. But that also can be somewhat problematic. And I think, you want to be concerned as a user of social media with censorship, certainly, the restrictions that social media platforms might put on your ability to speak in the way that you want to necessarily, but you also want to make sure that the sources of information that you're getting are accurate and certainly reliable.
So what are some of the steps that social media platforms are doing to make sure it's not too offensive and that the information is accurate and reliable?
Well, it all goes back to some extent to the terms and conditions that are applicable to particular social media platforms. And, over the last couple of months, and I think this might be what you're talking about specifically, there's been a lot of, censorship and fake news being pulled off of certain platforms. I'm thinking specifically of InfoWars being pulled from not only social media, but certain podcast distribution companies like Apple and YouTube and that kind of thing. So if you're utilizing social media to espouse certain views, you want to make sure, again, and this is kind of a consistent theme in our conversation today, you want to make sure that you have a substantive understanding of the parameters that govern your use of that platform by looking at the terms and conditions and making sure that you're not violating them. And you also want to make sure as a user that the platform is being reasonable, and viewpoints that you are sympathetic to are not being unfairly targeted. And to the extent they are, your recourse really is to, again, not really utilize that platform. But there are substantive, First Amendment concerns and issues associated with social media in general. And keeping these platforms open to other people and conflicting views to your own. I think that's an important, just value, certainly in the American tradition, but just generally, I think that's a good thing to be exposed to, is different views and competing views.
So that is one of the concerns of the owners of the platform. Do they have to also worry about undue influence or manipulation of their platform?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, with everything that you're seeing in the last, year and a half with respect to Russian, hacking and allegations of fake news, whether it comes from the president or whether, it comes from news outlets, whatever it is. The extent of the efforts that these platforms are now taking to try to verify the veracity of the information that's coming is starting to get pretty extensive, and I think that those are good efforts. There's been certain legislation where political ads on social media now need to identify where they're coming from, and I think that all bodes well for the health of that system, and just for really just to some extent American democracy. Really, I mean, this is the dominant platform for the way a lot of Americans today receive their news, and it's critical that the news is accurate and it's coming from reliable sources, or that you can at least check the source from which it's coming from.
And you may have covered this a little bit before, but are there other warning signs that a user should keep in mind that their data may have been mishandled?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it can be somewhat challenging to really know what's going on, and it depends really on how you want to define mishandled. Facebook to this day will not classify the Cambridge Analytica issue as a breach because at the time that occurred, it was in accordance with their terms and conditions. Certainly today, what happened would not be allowed now. And really your insight into that, you may not have much insight into it. You may not even know that your data has been compromised or that it's being used by some third party. I think, just general safeguards that you can take, having two-factor identification when you're logging into things, securing your passwords, having strong passwords, all of those things are things that everybody should be doing. And you don't want to be subjected to phishing attacks and email intrusions and that type of thing. All of those are problematic, and something that we all need to be aware of. As far as red flags associated with those things, I mean, I think if you're receiving strange emails and people asking you to reset passwords, you've got to be very careful about what those URLs look like. You want to look for in emails that you receive that they don't have kind of strange misspellings, and that the English is that's being used is regular, normal, grammatically correct English. Those types of things are some of the red flags that you can look for to minimize your susceptibility to attacks.
And you can always try to go right to the legitimate name of that organization to contact them directly to make sure it's not some phony email you're getting.
Oh, absolutely, and I think that's one of the first steps that you want to take. And everybody's susceptible to this. I mean, I haven't necessarily been a victim of these things, but I've seen these things where you'll get an email, or a text message even to reset your Twitter password, and all of a sudden, someone hacks your account. Those are very easy to fall victim to, or even as attorneys, I've received over the last probably year and a half, probably 3 or 4 emails from what appear to be potential clients or customers, asking me to review a particular contract. And I took some of the steps you just suggested, which was looking up the person on LinkedIn, sending them a direct message on LinkedIn to see if they were real. Because these people are asking for engagement letters and the transfer of funds and that kind of thing, and it seems a little bit too good to be true. And I think that's it's an old adage, but it really is applicable to this kind of a scenario,
especially the transfer of funds.
Oh, absolutely.
And what are the things SM users can use if they believe there's been a mishandling of their information or some type of breach of privacy?
Well, I think you've got to contact the social media platform, certainly, and try to shut that down. If you can't access your account, you've got to be able to, make sure that you've got contact information for the social media company platform, via email or whatever it is. So those are some of the steps that you can take. If your data's been compromised, you really you need to get to the source of it and figure out where the breach occurred, and then I think really make whatever efforts you need to minimize the damage by letting your contacts know that that's happened, and really dealing with whatever social media platform it is where the breach occurred.
And just tell us how you help your clients to do a better job of using social media, and what you try to help them to do.
Well, for our clients, we really try to give them sound advice as to best practices associated with minimizing, the likelihood that they're going to be victimized by a hacking event or a data breach. And that's things that we've talked about today, and it's really utilizing, two-factor identification, and that's something where, you if you log into your Gmail account, for example, or your Facebook account, it actually sends you a code on your phone via text message, and that's the way you can get into the system. And that, while that's annoying, I think that's one of the better ways to minimize the likelihood that your account itself is going to be hacked. We counsel our clients just on the use of social media and their business in general. And give them tips and tactics for minimizing unnecessary breach events and just general kind of data hygiene. So those are some of the things that we do, and some of the types of advice that we give to our customers and clients.
And to help prevent legal liability for those things.
Absolutely. I mean, especially in the larger realm of, say, data breaches and that kind of thing. I mean, if you're a company that actually processes personal information of customers and clients, then you've got massive exposure and potential liability associated with a breach. And having a system in place that not only minimizes the likelihood of a breach, but details how you're going to respond to a breach if it should occur to minimize liability is critical. One of the mantras that I tell my clients on a regular basis is that early legal advice is not expensive. Having a plan in place, figuring out what you're going to do to minimize the breach, if the breach occurs, what you're going to do to remedy the breach, all of that costs money to do on the front end. But if you don't have that kind of process in place, the money that you're going to spend on the back end is just enormous. You're going to subject yourself to liability and loss.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Absolutely.
Okay, we just have a few seconds left. There's a website you want to give our audience so that they can find out more information about these topics.
Right. What I would say is go to softwarenegotiation.com, and that's got a lot of good information and blog posts about technology issues in general, interviews and insights on social media specifically, data privacy, and those types of things. Softwarenegotiation.com. Okay,
I would like to thank our guest, Attorney Marcus Harris, for being our guest on Law You Should Know. Keep in mind, whatever you've heard has been presented as information only. You should get advice about these issues from your own personal attorney based on your personal situation. You're listening to Law You Should Know here on 90.3, the voice of Nassau Community College. If you missed any part of today's show or want to pass it on to someone else, you can find a free podcast by searching WHPC on iTunes or Spreaker. That's SPREAKER.com. Please join us next week at the same time on 90.3 FM. or also over the internet at nccradio.org.